6 o'clock, I call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. And we'll have Ms. Salazar do the pledge and Mr. Salazar do the invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts as we work for this district. We pray for every child, every teacher, every administrator here at PISD. And then, Lord, as we conduct our business tonight, I ask that you be with the board. Let us have an open mind, open heart, and open eyes. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Could you please stand with me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Dr. Sanchez.
All right, we'll begin with our recognitions and achievement. And so first we'll start with our Bulldog Award winner. We have 2 Bulldog Award winners. I've seen one in the building and I don't know if I've seen the other. So I'll go ahead and ask our first Bulldog Award winner and her family to come forward. We'd like to recognize Mrs. Landeros. She teaches math at the intermediate. And if Ms. Alcazar is here, if she'll come up, we would like to recognize her. Our Bulldog Award winners are outstanding teachers or district employees who go above and beyond. And last year was Mrs. Landeros' first year. She stepped in about mid-year to begin teaching. And so I'll turn it over to Ms. Alcazar.
Good evening, board. I was very proud to nominate and then learn of her recognition this afternoon. This is, of course, Jessica Landeros. She teaches 6th grade math for us here at the intermediate. And we're just proud of all of her accomplishments. In our nomination, we just stated that she has taken and received coaching very well. We have teaching and learning, our content specialist. She has a mentor, and she's really just taken that, spread her wings and blossomed as a 6th grade math teacher. So we're very proud of the work that she does day in and day out, and even the work that's unseen. She also takes college courses at night or online, and so she does that work as well, but she is still fully 100% dedicated to the students at their intermediate. And so we're very, very proud of her and very, very proud of the work that she's done. So thank you. Ms. Landeros.
And if we can get y'all to come up front and And in a way, it was Mrs. Melissa Landeros that put Jessica on the map because she's the one that shared that she wanted to be a teacher, and she is going to be a great one.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
And I don't see Coach De Leon here, but, oh, she's in the back. All right, so I'll ask Coach De Leon to come forward, and I'll ask Mrs. Rodriguez to come forward and just share a little bit about Coach De Leon, and then we'll ask her family to come up and get a picture. Today, Coach was in a shark outfit for turkey dinner. So we wanted to take the picture in the shark outfit, and she said no.
Good evening, board and Dr. Sanchez. Just want to highlight Chloe De Leon and what she does at the ELC. She's not one that seeks recognition. Today we were trying to find her and she was like, do you need to get in the gym? No, we need you. Come with us. So she's one of the unsung paras that we have at the ELC. You will see her in the morning getting kids out of their vehicles. You will see her in the afternoon loading kids back in vehicles with the stop sign. Today was rather interesting with the rain and everything else, but we were still out there battling it, and she was one of them out there. She's been nothing but good to our kids, my kid included, and we can't ask for anything besides that. So I told her, hey, if you take care of my baby and everybody else, I'll take care of you. So super proud of Chloe and the job that she's doing at the ELC. She doesn't like the attention, but she deserves it. So thank you.
We can get y'all up with your family. A long, long time ago, when my son was a little guy, he and Chloe would talk about college. And so, and then I would run into her at the intermediate where she was doing some high school student teaching. So she's a born teacher.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have our head director of the Powerhouse of the Plains, Mr. Hernandez, and he is going to come and talk about all of the amazing things happening with the area finalist Powerhouse of the Plain band.
Good evening, Dr. Sanchez, school board. Appreciate you all having us here tonight. I want to just take some time to recognize some of the accomplishments the students have done. But before I do that, I want to just give some recognition to some of the amazing team members that I get to work with. We have Mr. Ogden standing over here. Mr. Gilreath right here in the back, our middle school director. And our newest member to the team is Ms. Sydney Bonnell. She's somewhere over there. Then I also get the privilege to have, I can boldly say this, the best boosters around. And so I know I have several of them behind me. So if you're a booster, would you please stand and be recognized? I love showing up to band competitions because we easily have the most parents involved. In fact, other directors are asking our parents, how do you all get so many parents? It's just be jealous, okay? And so that's just the way we roll here. So I want to present some of the students here. I want to ask Lily to come up with some of our drum majors. Lily Nava, JC Ogden, JC. Other drum majors, J.C. Ogden. Not sure if Robert is here, but Robert Owen is a third drum major. Our guard captains, where are they here? Jaslyn. And, Ariana, yes. Where are you at? There she is. Let's go ahead and I know this is not everybody because they're all involved in so many different things. Let me have the band come on up.
Oh, man.
Let's see if they all fit.
They're gonna knock the stage down.
But as they're coming up, let me just tell you some of the things they were able to accomplish. We started back in July, learning our show. I can honestly say, and I've taught quite a few years, this is the hardest show they didn't know this. The hardest show I've ever presented to students, both music and drill. They didn't know that I hadn't taught anything this hard, but they were able to accomplish it. And early, we had our whole show learned in August. So I'm really, really proud of that. I had never been able to do that with students. They're still working on getting up here. And they're holding some of our trophies that we've been able to win this past marching season. But let me just talk you through some of our contests. We started in October, our first contest, we went to Tumbleweed, and we were able to advance to the finals. Overall, they didn't have it by class. They had just overall 1A through 6A. And so we were able to advance the finals. We came out 8th overall. Next week after that, we went to Lubbock pre-UIL, wound up winning best in class and also best guard in the overall competition. So really proud of them. Went on the following week to UIL and earned our 85th Division I in program history. Advanced to the area. Not only did we make finals, which had been a few years since we did that, but we also finished 10th overall in finals. And so it's been an extremely exciting marching season. We are really excited about what the kids have been able to accomplish. And so I'll let you, if y'all can pick up the awards here and let everybody see that.
We also got the band a big banner to be able to hang on the fence where y'all practice for marching. So I'm gonna.
That's good stuff.
Okay, I'll stand with him. I want to ask the other directors to come. I also want to ask the best administrative assistant anybody can have to come join us. Y'all know her, Miss Gonzalez.
That's awesome.
While they're trickling off, I want to mention that it was 8 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Hernandez in what used to be the band hall and at the junior high. And the practice rooms were portables behind the junior high. And I remember talking with Mr. Hernandez, and I asked him, well, what do you need? And he said, I need a real band hall. And so fortunately, the community supported the bond, and the band hall was there. And the biggest thing about the old band hall is there wasn't enough room to put all the awards that the band had won. And so here's this new big band hall. And it didn't take long, and the top of the cabinetry was all covered in awards again. And so when the opportunity to find a new band director came up, and who better to lead the band than the guy who, for the last 4 years, as the kids were coming into high school, had been their band director, their junior high band director, and had won all of those awards. And so Mr. Hernandez stepped up. He wanted the opportunity, and as you can see, I mean, area finalists, we haven't done that in a long time. And the band is definitely on the upswing. And soon, the band marching field where they practice behind the band hall will have banners, we believe, all the way around it. And so we're looking forward to that. What's even more exciting is it was kind of a crossing of conversations. I called Mr. Hernandez before they were going to area to wish him good luck, but then we both were wanting to set time to talk about adding mariachi to the band. And so Mr. Hernandez is working on that right now. And so hopefully soon we'll be able to launch a component part of mariachi to our band. And so he's done a lot of research on it, and we gave it to Doris, and Doris kind of said, all right, well, I'll figure it out. So, but we're very excited about that. And then the plans he has for the show next year. So a lot of exciting things happening with the powerhouse of the Plains. So thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Okay. Next, we have Mr. Stokes, who's going to come up and talk about the TCFA feed yard technician, machinery operation, and repair and maintenance certifications.
Good evening. How's the board doing this evening? Hopefully well. Yes, I'm one of the ag teachers here at Plainview ISD. I'm Mr. Stokes. And yes, I'm talking about the TCFA, the Texas Cattle Feed Association, these young men and lady that we have. This is coming on my 5th year here. Like I said, I'm glad to be here. Last year I had 9. I wanted to double. I more than doubled. I had 23 students pass their certification this year. So what this certification is required, they have to be front end loader certified, skid loader certified, lockout, tag out, and as well as welding and cutting with the oxyacetylene torch. And these young men and ladies passed their tests. So if they would come up here and be recognized. So.
And the jackets are just really nice.
Yes.
So I asked one of the young men, how do you get the jacket? And he said, you have to get the certification. So,
Feed yard technician program.
Stokes, if we can get you in the picture there, we'd love to have you in the picture. And I would like to, I'd like to mention briefly, my daughter got her feed yard technician certification last year. And these young men, it opens a lot of doors because it gave her opportunities at West Texas A&M because she held a certification that others didn't, and she was looking for internships. So it does open a lot of doors. So you can get a job, but it also opens internships because they're very competitive and there aren't very many of them. So if the board will allow, I'll be very brief on the superintendent report, and it's because there's some good news in there I'd like to share, and then we can release everyone and then begin with the comments and then the benchmark data presentations. So there are 2 big pieces of news I want to share, and so I'll share the exciting piece first. Jonathan Craig with Kimley Horn recently presented that Plainview has the potential to be a aerospace hub. There's a regional aerospace study currently being undertaken in our area in Hell County. That's really exciting. So why is that exciting? Because it dovetails with a project that we've been working on for the last I'd say Mary Elizabeth Dickerson has had it on her mind for some time, but really put a lot of pen to paper on this project recently. And so we're at a point now to where Plainview ISD is looking at launching a Plainview Tech College. So what's Plainview Tech College? It'll allow us to provide up to, over a series of years, 8 associate's degrees and multiple certifications. Now, the The challenge in this is South Plains College had announced that due to some challenges with student enrollment, there was a potential that the South Plains site would close in Plainview. And so we did receive word recently that that was more of a certainty than anything else. And so here you have an aerospace study being done in our area, and you have a need for all of the types of welders and millwrights and machinists and people who can understand AI and technology for this aerospace hub to work. But we were losing our community college. So Ms. Dickerson and I had an opportunity to visit with Dr. Robin Satterwhite at South Plains College, and we're currently working on a proposal to where Plainview ISD, partnering with South Plains College, will take the South Plains Plainview location under the district's umbrella, and that will be where we'll be able to offer some of the more advanced courses using their labs that are set up, as well as their classrooms for nursing and many other exciting opportunities. We're working through the agreement to where Plainview ISD would basically place right next to the South Plains logo, Plainview Tech College in partnership with South Plains Community College. And it's a win-win-win because our students will be able to achieve an associate's degree in many cases. Dr. Satterwhite shared with Ms. Dickerson and I before they get their high school diploma, those that really apply themselves. And on top of that, you graduate with an associate's degree and no college debt. Well, what's even more exciting than that is we saved the location and we're working through which classes would be exclusively for Plainview students and which classes would be open to the public as well, and then which classes would be exclusively for the public. With our recently opened welding shop, there's a potential to be able to take their current welding shop at the South Plains location and transition that to perhaps something more in line if we were to be an aerospace hub for that industry, as well as some of that classroom space. And so you can't have a partnership with an aerospace industry without a pipeline of people who are going to support it. And who better to support it than our students, our graduates. And again, I can't help but reiterate, you have these students that can graduate with an associate's degree, no college debt, and job opportunities in Plainview, Texas. So we're working diligently with South Plains College, and we hope by February to have an agreement to bring before the board because it saves South Plains College for Plainview. It provides a partner for Plainview ISD for Plainview Tech College, and it continues to allow Plainview, Texas to be a viable option for external investment for jobs that are good paying jobs. And our mantra with Plainview Tech College will be Plainview Tech College, the shortest distance between a high school education and a good life. We'll also continue to look at offering our certification through our welding program, and Mr. Brundage does a great job. And as well as seeing if we can add more seats in on cosmetology, as well as IMET. So there are many exciting opportunities there. And we look forward to a broader and fuller presentation as we get closer to the point to where we have an agreement. Currently, Plainview ISD's general counsel is working with South Plains on the particulars of the agreement, but it does have the potential to be very good for Plainview ISD, and for future industry and investment in our community. So I wanted to share that with the board tonight. It's very exciting. The other point that I wanted to share, and then we'll take a quick break, is if you can put the, what's that? Oh,
After your speech.
yeah. Okay, and so we have, we wanted to put the attendance data up, and there's a reason for it. So if you take a look at the percent in attendance in 24-25 and 25-26, So how did we end the year last year? Basically, when the year was done, you can see Plainview High School's attendance was 92.3. Where we sit right now, we're at 95.1. If you take a look at Plainview Junior High, they were at 93.2 at year's end. They're currently sitting at 94.5. If you look at Plainview Intermediate, this last year, at the end of the year, 93.5, they're at 94.6. North, they're at 94.7. They're currently at 96. That's very impressive. Central was at 93.3, and they're currently at 95. And then the Early Learning Center, again, kind of working through the calculations there, was 92.4, they're at 93.8. And so what you can see is the difference from where we were last year to this year. And so why is attendance important? Because later on the agenda, there'll be a recommendation to the board for a $500 retention incentive for everyone in the district. And so where does the money come from? Well, the money comes from the improved attendance because the district is funded by attendance percentage. And because everybody has pitched in and worked hard, teachers calling kids, admin calling kids, everybody working to try to get students to school, it allows us to be able to provide that $500 retention incentive. And it's paid for by all of the good work that goes on in the classroom and all of the communication with parents and families. And so I'm hoping that if we can hold this to the end of the year, that'll be such a tremendous benefit that maybe we can even look at something like this at the end of the year as a end of the year retention incentive. But at this point in time, I wanted to thank the campuses and congratulate them on all of their hard work, all of the communication, and just making school a good place to be and an interesting place to be for our learners. And so you can see the result in the attendance. So if you don't mind, please give all of our teachers, educators, and the students in the room a round of applause for coming to school. All right. We have one more group of career and tech students. We have our ASH students for their Microsoft certification. So Mr. Wallace is here. Now,
Volleyball's not here today?
no, volleyball and cross country couldn't make it. They're all tied up in all the other exciting sports going on.
Okay.
Hello, board. One thing that we have really been pushing this year in our CTE classes is now that ASH is their own campus, really expanding their certification options. And so Miss Thompson, we're proud of her and her students, and I'll let her talk a little bit about what they did. They've done a great job this year. No? Okay, we'll talk
We're going to
more.
talk about it.
But as they are their own campus now, they're going to be responsible, for really pushing certifications there. And so Miss Thompson has kind of led the charge. She is our CTE department at ASH. And so with her business classes, they've done a great job. And I've been here a couple of years, and they're putting up, I think, already more certifications at this point of the year than they have yet. And so they're really getting after it and getting focused. And so we're just proud of her and her students. So I'll announce what we have, unless. Okay.
As I call y'all's name, y'all can come up this way. Addie Pitts, Brendan Trevino, Nicole Oliver, Guadalupe Jaime, and Adam Henderson. Okay. Addie has a PowerPoint certification. Brendan has Word and PowerPoint. Nicole has Word, PowerPoint 16, and PowerPoint 19. Guadalupe has PowerPoint 19. Adam Henderson has PowerPoint 19. Is that it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Word 19. And then I have some other students that couldn't make it because they had to work. I would like to recognize Monty because she was our first expert. She actually has Word 19, PowerPoint 19, and Word Expert. And then I have Abigail Lopez. She has Word 19, PowerPoint 19, and Excel 19.
And to the board, first of all, we'd like to say thank you because in the past, the way it was set up, whenever our students was ready to take the certification test, they had to travel over to PHS. So we had to set everything up, transportation, let Mr. Fikes know, and then they'll go over there, take the test, and then come back. But now they're able to take it at ASH. And one thing that has motivated them is when they went to the career expo, and they actually found out how much the certification is worth. And so with that, they came back and start encouraging others to do this. So it kind of seemed like it's a challenge right now, who can get the most. I believe last year we had one that got about 11. I think he ended up being a security guard. I mean, with that. So just like to say thank you just for they have an opportunity to obtain this and they're taking advantage of it, but it wouldn't happen without your support. So thank you.
Awesome. Great job, guys. All right, we can take about 5 minutes and let everybody head to their next thing.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break. Amber?
We do have one public participation comment. You'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Mario Landeros. If you'll state your name and your address, please, sir.
My name is Mario Landeros, 1407 West 10th, July the 9th, 1962. In case y'all want to send me a gift, I appreciate it. So tonight, I'm not going to stand up here, yell, shout, scream, point fingers, because I know when we point fingers, there's always 3 pointing back at us. But I am here tonight as a grandparent concerned of what's going on or what happened at South Elementary. I've been notified, I've been talked to, that the principal, vice principal were placed on administration leave. They were investigated for, I guess, not obeying school policy. But the funny thing about it is none of us 700 parents got notified. And I don't know if you can notify us or not. But as a grandparent, I'm concerned. And then I found out today that those people were placed at another campus. So I'm asking the board, are we resolving the problem or are we just moving the problem? Because if we're just moving the problem, then we're going to have another 500 parents that are going to be concerned on what happened. Now, if y'all can't tell us, great. But if you can, would you please let us know? And I'm going to challenge you board members, because I know about half of y'all except for Mrs. Amber, Mr. Salazar. I do not know you. I met Dr. Sanchez this afternoon, but I'm going to challenge you for you board members to pick one campus and go check the heartbeat of that campus. Is that a good heartbeat? Or is that campus on life support? Because I've been sitting back here since August trying to get involved with the school. And I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing a lot of chaos. But my question is, when is enough enough? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think that was our only public comment.
Yes, ma'am.
We can move into our business items. Consideration and approval for the annual review of investment policies and resolution approving investment training sources and designation of investment officers.
Yes, this is an annual housekeeping item, and so it's one that our auditors require that anybody who is in charge of our investments, that they have training, and that training be by sanctioned entities that are approved. And so with that, we'll make a recommendation for the entities and the officers to be approved. And currently, Mrs. Chapa is the head, and then I am the assistant in this. And we are, again, every 2 years required to undergo training that has to be approved by the state. And we need the board's support and or approval that we continue to train and that we abide by all of the policies according to our financial requirements set by the state. So with that, I'll make a recommendation for the board's consideration and approval.
Board, any questions, comments on this item? No questions or comments. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Salazar. All in motion. Raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Our second business item is the approval of the Plainview Intermediate Target Improvement Plan.
As the board knows, the district committed quite a bit of work in South Elementary, went from a F campus to D to B. Central went from a D to A, and north from a D to B. Junior high maintained its C status, high school, all of the different parts of it, collegiate, Ash contributed to high school being a B. And so we do have one campus where we were putting a tremendous amount of focus and effort, and that is at intermediate. They're a D, and our work is to get them to a C at minimum next year. And so that way, we clear the portfolio for all of the campuses on the district to where we're C or better, and each year, we look at moving up. And that was part of the workshop training, was for the board to have an understanding of the mechanics behind what our staff worked through to be able to move students forward and to ensure at least 1 year's academic growth.
Good evening, Board. I would like to present our Plainview Intermediate tip for your approval. The first slide just gives an overview of what a tip is. It is a state-required comprehensive action plan, and it's designed to improve student outcomes and strengthen instructional systems on campuses that have not met the accountability expectations. So the purpose of our tip is to establish focused goals aligned with our accountability system, strengthen our instructional systems, curriculum implementation, and intervention practices, also to increase student performance in reading and math, as well as our Domain 3 federal indicators, and then provide structures for ongoing monitoring, coaching, and continuous improvement. Our tip process will be for this current school year, 25-26, and then we are hopeful that we will meet the state requirements and be a B or a C, but we will still have 1 more year of monitoring for the 26-27 school year. With the first part of the tip, we are now required to submit our student outcome goals. The first portion is our STAR performance. Our goals, Deborah and I worked together and calculated. She is shooting for a B overall rating, and to manage and get that B, we are looking to have a 50% at meets. So that's where you'll see the reading and the math at 50. Then our Domain 3 is over in the purple section, and that is broken up into our different indicators with our sub-pops. And we're hoping at the academic achievement, we are looking for 50%, our growth 56%, our TELPOS at 75%, and then our student success at 38%. Key points of the tip include instructional excellence through data-driven practices with our strong PLC protocol, including unit internalization, common assessments, exemplar creation, and student work analysis, as well as data digs. Our second key point is our high-quality curriculum implementation. We are utilizing the Bluebonnet Math for 5th and 6th grade, and then HMH as well for reading in 5th and 6th grade, and implementing them with adequate minutes. In our tip, we are required to submit how many minutes are required for the curriculum, and we are well above the minimum requirement of the curriculum with our 88-minute blocks now this year. Our third goal is a robust assessment and progress monitoring. We have collaborative assessment after every module, fall and spring benchmarks, and 3 weeks progress monitoring for Tier 2 and Tier 3 students in our intervention time. Our fourth point is intensive coaching and leadership support, weekly PLC facilitation by campus administrators, scheduled Region 17 touch points, and ongoing coaching cycles based on walkthrough and assessment data. And then our fifth key point is continuous improvement and accountability alignment. Leadership team conducts 6 weeks reviews after every 6 weeks. The superintendent and Ms. Long meet at least once monthly with the principal. Our goal is twice a month, and then we progress monitor with staff and the community groups and through our CNA. Milestones, we are required to submit from August 2025 through August 26. I've highlighted a few of our milestones. In August 2025, we created our goals based on our accountability ratings, and then in September, we started conducting the teacher data review, prioritizing T-test walkthroughs, and determining our coaching needs. November, December are focused on our benchmarks, and this is when our region has also conducted our first FLIPS touch point, and that stands for Foundational Leadership of Instructional Practices and Systems. So the region will come out 3 times throughout the year and work with Deborah and I to make sure we're progress monitoring on our tip. And then January through March, we'll mid-year review and instructional adjustments. And then May through August is looking at our data and determining next steps for the following school year. Our instructional focus is the unit internalization and priority TEKS, common assessments, exemplar lesson development, and responsive instruction. Our assessment plan overview includes the collaborative assessments, which are module-based, our district benchmarks, and then the 3-week progress monitoring during our win time. Our PLC structure and frequency, they occur at least 4 times weekly, and they're organized by grade level and content. They're facilitated by a campus administrator, and then teachers are required to attend, as well as our SPED staff to meet those domain 3 goals, and then administrators. So the final piece is our monitoring and accountability. The district and campus data views are vital, and reviews of that information, as well as the superintendent meetings, and then the FLIPS, professional development and touch points. So along with the region coming out to coach the administration, she will attend regional trainings throughout the year as well. Do you have any questions?
So we'll ask the board for your consideration and approval of the plan for improvement.
Board questions?
I would, the school improvement plan is, I think if you have a good action plan going forward, and it looks like you do, Deborah, you've set in motion what needs to happen. I truly believe that. So, you have good admin, good teachers, and the support of the board to dig that and make it that goal, your goal, a B. And I know you can do it. You're backed by everybody here, so, and you're doing a good job. Very good.
Yeah, I'll just kind of back that up with, I've had some good reports of things that are going on in the, with the kids in the hallways, and the expectations and the rotations that have changed up a little bit, and some good reports of what's going on over there. So we believe in you. You can do this, and your team.
Yeah.
Any other comments, board? With that, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the action plan for the intermediate.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, item number 3 is consideration of the district's transition plan and request to delay implementation of House Bill 2 teacher certification requirements. And there is some recommended motion on this.
So Ms. Merrick has reviewed the information, and you have that information. She shared that information with you. You have the language, and so we'll make the recommendation for your consideration and approval. And the plan's purpose is to accelerate all of our teachers who are degreed and in certification programs, to build a runway for them to be certified. There's a batch that we're looking at this year, then a batch the year after, and then teachers that we have in our path to teach pipeline that still need hours to finish their degree and then get their certification. So all of that is in the plan, and it's scaled by year and by content area. And so we need to submit this to the state for their approval after you approve, should you approve the item. So if you approve the item, then we have to submit it to TEA, then TEA reviews it. If they find that it's not acceptable, they'll send it back. We'll have to do work on it, and then we'll have to come back to the board. But we feel that this meets all the criteria as we are putting into place the things that we need, and our principals, even before House Bill 2, have been working with their teachers who are working on certification, working on degree, to encourage them, provide them space, provide them time. And we've collaborated with quite a few of the universities with our teachers who have degrees who need observation hours or for those who are finishing up their degree and need their certification. So this is putting all of the things, the many things that we do to get our uncertified but degreed, and then our undegreed to degreed, then to certified on paper in a cohesive plan for your approval and consideration, and then the states after that. So that'll make the recommendation for your consideration and approval.
Board, any questions that came up since Brandy told us about this item? No questions. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the Plainview ISD transition plan for teacher certification requirements under House Bill 2 and authorize the superintendent to submit the district's request to the TEA, Texas Education Agency, for delay in implementation until the 29-30 school year.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Salazar. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Salazar. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Item 4 is the 25-26 Plainview Early Learning Center Targeted Improvement Plan.
And this one is a bit of an oddity because Mrs. Carrasco had to email a whole lot of people at TA to figure out what they wanted us to do with this plan, because South Elementary no longer exists. Now, in its last year, it was a B campus, which takes it out of the consecutive years of being a F or D. But since the state couldn't figure out who to affix the improvement plan to, even though the campus no longer exists and the students are divided among the three, they decided that they would go ahead and state that we needed a targeted improvement plan for the Early Learning Center because that was the address where South was before it became an Early Learning Center. Even though it had met the B criteria, it's usually you meet the standard and then another year you show that you can maintain it. And so Mrs. Carrasco and Mrs. Rodriguez worked on this, and so she'll present the targeted improvement plan for your review and consideration, and then much like the one for intermediate, it'll be then submitted.
Board, any questions?
Oh, well,
Oh.
he's gonna hit it.
Okay.
They were struggling with who had the clicker.
As Dr. Sanchez mentioned, we did receive a B recognized performance last year. So in 2023, just as a progression, we were comprehensive identified. 2024, we made progress. But in the school year 24-25, we were awarded the Effective Schools Framework School Improvement Grant. And since we were awarded that grant, we have to still follow the TIP procedures and make sure that we are maintaining the school improvement processes, even though the campus has changed. So I just wanted to highlight that last year we did have an A in school progress, which is our growth measure, and then a B in our federal accountability of closing the gaps. So we are in recognized performance for that campus. We just have to continue the TIP for this year to finish the remaining funds of the grant. With our outcome goals, they are normally targeted with STAR performance. Since that campus is no longer a STAR campus, we will have TELPAS testing this year, but they asked us to align our district goals with the TIP. So the numbers you will see here are our district goals. In the student achievement, our goal that we presented in August was 44 for reading and 32 for math. And then we broke it down for the domain 3 piece, and our goals are 41, 68, 56, and 48. And I would like to mention for our TELPAS assessment, we are maintaining that 56. For TELPAS, we are well above the state and region in that goal. For our Early Learning Center goals, our focus is going to be the strong early literacy and numeracy for pre-K through 1, the data-driven instruction through weekly PLCs, which is our Effective Schools Framework Level 5, strengthen Tier 1 instruction and small group systems with our guided reading pieces. Positive school culture and climate is going to be a big piece for us, and that's through our Effective Schools Framework Level 3, and then the continuous progress in monitoring and accountability alignment. key milestones. In August, we reviewed how the early literacy affects our accountability, and then we were able to summarize all of the DRA information, the CLI for the district, and create the goals for the Early Learning Center. In September, beginning of the year assessments begin. November, December, we're starting our fall literacy checkpoints. And then we will have a positive school culture checkpoint with a survey conducted. Diana will attend her first FLIPS coaching cycle the week we return from Thanksgiving. And then we'll have our touch point in January where our regional representative will come out and support her. And then in May, we'll continue to the end of year monitoring of literacy and numeracy and see how we're progressing throughout the year. Our instructional focus is that early literacy piece with the HMH. We do well above the required minutes of 375. You'll see even in the numeracy, 300 plus minutes are required, but we provide 500 minutes. We will do rapid assessments for beginning and middle of the year and end of year, the numeracy centers, and then the tier 1 instructional pieces of weekly PLCs from data analysis to assessment planning and lesson internalization. And then as well as the walkthroughs through our ESF Lever 5, which is the effective instruction. Our school culture and climate is the stakeholder surveys and then the checkpoints throughout the school year, and then reinforce the systems and classroom routines that they're monitored through walkthroughs and attendance and discipline data. Monitoring and leadership will have the milestones review between myself and Ms. Rodriguez, and then FLIPS leadership training December, February, and April. We'll walk through and PLC documentation will be used in assessment data. And then we have the bi-monthly district progress checks with Dr. Sanchez and Ms. Long. So this is our ESF. Do you have any questions for us?
Board questions for Ms. Carrasco? Carrasco, right?
Carrasco.
I don't want to change your last name.
No.
It happens sometimes. So with that, we'll ask for the board's consideration and approval of the Early Learning Center Targeted Improvement Plan.
Okay, with no questions or comments, board, do I hear a motion?
I so move.
We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Wright. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Item 5 is approval of the disposal of elementary Eureka and Envision math materials.
So one of the things I want to make the board keenly aware of is the way the state manages all instructional materials is they're quote unquote free. So as the board has approved the adoption, like Bluebonnet, for example, with the board's approval, Ms. Long puts a plan together, then the state sends those materials. So there's no exchange of money. So those items do come to the district directly from the vendor that the state has selected for their standard curricula. In the other areas where there is discretion, there's a specific fund, and that specific fund can only be used for instructional materials. And the state keeps a very close eye on what happens with which instructional materials are purchased with this fund, and when they're outside of their cycle, what the district does with those instructional materials. One of the commissioner's focuses is that districts cease to use what the state considers outdated instructional materials, because then the standards don't align, and then updates to either content, concepts, or methodology are outdated in the old materials that are updated in the new materials. So in an effort to ensure that everything stays clear and clean, Mrs. Long has to go through a process of documenting and logging which materials have passed their life cycle, presented to the board for your consideration and approval before we can remove those materials. And the reverse of it is when we need to purchase materials. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Long to describe the items.
Again, to reiterate, the state this year provided $40 per student as an approved materials entitlement. That reallocates every year. Plus, there was another $20 thrown in for that per student that goes to that fund too. And so again, what he said, we didn't pay anything for the Bluebonnet materials this year. We paid a little bit for some materials that had to be printed in Spanish. It was kind of buy one, get one free, but there was a minimal amount that we had to pay for there. So those are in use. With this, I don't want there to be any confusion between Bluebonnet and Eureka. Great Minds still produces the product, but Eureka Math was Eureka Math. Then it had to go through the IMER process through TEA. They realigned it more Texas-centered based on STAR. They readjusted some units, they readjusted some modules. Some things are obviously very similar, but there's some things that are very different. So these kids, when we order this, there are multiple workbooks that come with this. I mean, the kindergartner could have a stack of workbooks for the year for Module 1, Module 2, Module 3. And so those are all there, but we do have the Eureka Math that there's a surplus of left over, and it was taking up space. So that's what we're asking for approval to dispose of what we have left. Also, Envision Math still remains within its adoption window. We were using Envision Math when I was at La Mesa. So that's been almost 9 years ago, I think. And so that's still in adoption, but we're not using that. We haven't used it in the past 3 years. So that's what we're seeking disposal of at this time. So if you've got any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
What do we do with them? You said you dispose them. Do you send them back or
They usually go to the landfill.
throw them in the dumpster or what?
Yep.
Okay.
Not the dumpster, no dumpster. This year's workbooks, we ordered very few over, if we had 22 kids in an elementary classroom, we might have ordered 30 to 32 just in case you get an extra student. We did have to go back and request more because we added a classroom. We added another classroom again that just comes out of that fund that they gave us. So landfill it is this year. We shouldn't have very few left. They're sending the workbooks home with the kids. When they've used them all, junior high has sent some home for theirs. I know Deborah Intermediate, they're like, we don't have room for any of this. So kids take them home once they're used.
Okay.
So-
I was going to ask that. Can
Yeah.
they still? So who's in charge of that? Who pulling all of this, or is it all in
It's
one
all,
spot? Or?
yes, we've
Okay.
gathered it.
Oh, okay.
So
It's already gathered and
it's
ready
gathered.
to go. Okay.
And if not, it won't take long. We've
Okay.
pulled stuff out of several different places. So
Okay.
Curtis Bailey helps with that along with Manuel and Scott, of course.
Is
getting that
this is a new thing that we have to approve disposal? This is a new House bill part, I guess, or?
It's in the
I don't
Texas
remember
Education Code, so.
It's something new that they've included that anything that is purchased has to be approved and anything that is disposed of that's an instructional material has to be approved.
We did think when I first started looking at this, we thought we were going to have to fill out a form that you have to submit to the commissioner, but you should have a handout. I think Rosie put it on there that says if we do it through a disbursement process, which that's how these purchases are made, that you don't have to report that to the commissioner. Curtis Bailey emailed the help desk and got that answer. We just need your approval.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that will make a recommendation for consideration and approval of the disposable of elementary Eureka and Envision math materials no longer needed for instruction in accordance with TEC requirements.
Or any questions? No questions. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the disposal of elementary Eureka and Vision Math.
We have a motion by Ms. Salazar. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Bass. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Item 6 is consideration to provide an on-time discretionary loyalty and retention incentive to our staff, permanently employed staff.
So that's the big one. That's the one that we've spent so much time focused on attendance. And again, we appreciate the staff for their work on that. And so our hope is if we can continue to do it, maybe it's something at the end of the year, we can look at maybe not as large or as broad scale, but perhaps at the end of the year, the campuses that maintain that 1% increase, everyone gets 500. And on the campuses that are 0.5%, maybe it's 250. So we'll bring something like that later for your consideration. But at this point in time, we're making a recommendation for the one-time discretionary loyalty and retention incentive to permanently employed staff at Plainview ISD for the 25-26 school year. And as you can see, those are all of the details. Basically, anyone who is a employee of the district that is considered as a permanent employee, and then you can see the date by which they had to be employed to be eligible. So if you have any questions, Mrs. Merricker, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board, any questions?
Just an incentive number is obviously, we wish we could do more, but it's movement in the right direction. Everybody had positive movement when it comes to attendance, and attendance is a huge part of what your job is, and that shows, the graph show that we had pulled up earlier shows the dedication you have to this district. So thank you very much for that right there.
So each year, this is better than the turkey, so. So that'll make a recommendation for the board's consideration to provide a one-time discretionary loyalty and retention incentive.
And this, just to be clear, this would include custodial,
Yes, oh
Uh,
yes.
everyone. that-
It includes even the long-term vacancy substitutes. We have about 7 in our district. Those are the ones that have agreed to take a vacancy position because we could not find a teacher to fill. So it even includes those 7. If they're new to the district, we will ask them to sign an intent to return next year. If they're new to our district, employed by November 17th, with their intention to return signed, they will receive that $500 incentive as well. And it'll go out in December separate from their paycheck.
After Black Friday.
Doris, you sitting down? You're sitting down for this?
Yeah, no, we looked at it again, so, and the total is 365,000.
Any other questions, board? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Salazar. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Ray. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Yeah, give yourself.
The only thing that would make staff happier than that is a day off tomorrow to sanitize the facilities, and we send that message out now. But second to that, this is really good, so thank you for that.
I believe that we have the consensus agenda is our last item from the October 23rd meeting.
So make a recommendation for the board's consideration and approval for the consensus agenda.
Board, any questions, or abstentions from that one? No, do I hear a motion?
I so moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Rivera. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Salazar. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0.
All right, now I hate to make everybody real sad, but that almost concludes the business of the district. The principals still have their reading presentation.
Did I miss that?
And so, but that's all right because it's the best for last. It's the best for last. And they now know that, if y'all don't mind, if we can take like 5 minutes for everybody to stand up, stretch, and then for them to get ready and,
tried.
maybe they'll talk like auctioneers. It's part of our policy. So if we could take 5 minutes, Madam Vice President.
Yes, it is 7:14. Let's take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
You guys are going to be good. All right.
7:21, let's call this meeting back to order. Oh, sorry, I was reading a funny text. Because I know these principals are ready to give us their spiel.
So exciting, huh?
They are. They've been waiting patiently. So we gave our RLA benchmark last week. And so we've got some data for you for 3 through sophomores. So a little just context. When we give the benchmark, the RLA benchmark with secondary, we just give the whole release star test. We gave the 24 release star test. What's different a little bit this year is with our elementary students last year, we did not give our 3rd and 4th graders the full released STAR test. It was a little shorter. It didn't have paired passages on it. It didn't have their extended constructed response or their essay on it as well. So it was a much shorter test. Last year, we gave it earlier. So it's a little bit different for elementary this year than it was last year. This year, we just gave them the full 2024 release STAR test. And so I want you to look at a couple of things. When we talk about that paired passage, that's usually difficult no matter what the grade level is. And so I pulled the paired passage that was on the 3rd grade reading STAR. So with these paired passages, they have to read one passage, then they read the other. There were 10 questions over these 2 passages. There were 3 that addressed the first passage, A Forest Full of Stars. There were 3 that addressed the More Than Air. And then there were 4 where they have to make connections between the 2. And so you're a little 3rd grader, you're trying to learn to type, answer things on a computer. And then this was the 2nd reading of the test. 10 questions on these 2. But this was what I want to highlight for you. I want you to take a look at that.
Read the question. And look at the Lexile level of the question for a 3rd grader from the state of Texas.
That question does not look much differently. Daniel was in PLCs at the high school today with Mr. Capps. Doesn't look much different than a sophomore level question on English too. The state average on that test from Lead Forward's IQ analysis, state average was a 37% got the correct answer of the state. Dr. Sanchez can explain all of the English that's behind that, but that is a very abstract concept, the idea of imagination. And then
Yeah, that was
I'll let you go ahead.
If it was a math question, it'd be Rachel. So, this is a 3rd grade question. All right. So you look at it, how did the story from A Forest Full of Stars, so that's one story. So you're talking about a story and an article. So the story, you have fiction. The article is nonfiction. So not only are you comparing, you're not comparing just 2 fiction pieces. You're comparing a fiction with a nonfiction. So first, that's one thing you have to realize is that one's pretend and one's for real. And you're in 3rd grade. So how do the story from A Forest Full of Stars, fiction, and the article More Than Air, nonfiction, use the idea of imagination? So the idea is an abstract concept like hope or truth or justice or sadness. So, when you look at an idea, the student in 3rd grade has to be able to think abstractly because they can say table, chair, it's concrete, but idea is abstract. So you're looking at the idea. Now you have to understand the concept of imagination. So you have a fiction, a nonfiction, and then an abstract concept such as idea of imagination, and imagination in itself is also another abstract concept. In English, you have person, place, thing, or idea. So imagination is in the idea category of a noun. And then differently. So now we're talking about you're comparing 2, but you're actually not. You're contrasting 2, a fiction from a nonfiction, using an abstract concept of imagination, and you have to differentiate between the 2. And then look at the level of depth of language and understanding you need to have to be able to pick the right answer from that. So first you have to you have to understand the question before you can even begin looking for the answers. And so our teachers are working through this right now with third grade students. And so, the whole premise behind what Mrs. Wallace shared with you last time on how our teachers have to break down the standards, it's because this is what the questions look like. And then the whole premise behind what Mrs. Williams shared with you earlier on understanding the data is you have to figure out what did the kids not get. And then you have to look at the question that ties to the standard, and then you have to look at what they selected. And so was it that they thought they were two nonfiction pieces, or was it that they thought they were two fiction pieces, or did they not understand the concept of imagination, or did they not understand the word imagination or the definition, or did they compare it but they didn't differentiate because they didn't go far enough to read the word differently? And then if you're an English language learner, take it to a whole other level. So when you look at the results that we're going to present today, that the principals are sharing today, they went ahead and said, you know what, we're going to throw this in early. So the data that you're going to see compared to last year, instead of throwing it in at the end of the year and seeing if they get it, they went ahead and said, we're going to throw it in now. So you'll see that reflected in the data, and the principals will speak to that. But again, this is why that theory of pedagogy is so detailed in what we have to do for our third grade students to be successful so that the campuses aren't in TEA's crosshairs. So.
Who's up first? All right, Ms. Wallace, it's all you.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Sanchez. So as Mrs. Long presented and shared with you the comparison of the benchmark. So last year, if you look up here at the data for third grade for North Elementary, on STAR, we had 69% at the approaches level. And then for this recent benchmark, we're at 40%. Now, the one in 2024 has 65%, but mind you, this assessment was given in October, and it wasn't the full assessment like it was this time. So it was only up to what they had taught to that point. And so that's why I went around to do the comparison between the STAR and the fall, but that still gives you some helpful information where we need to go next. And so focusing on the meets category and the masters category, and now in the assessments, when the teachers look at it and aware, it has like your high approaches. So when you look at that group, you can now break that to say, that's my next group that I need to get to the meets category. So Ms. Williams presented to y'all how they break down the data and how we do it on the campuses working with our teachers. And so jump down to fourth grade with our approaches for STAR last year was 82%, and with this fall was 68%. We're not too far being the fact that we're here in November. So it's a starting point for us that we can say, we can do this. And with, of course, with fourth grade, you have to show that growth. So we have to show that we're growing in those areas and increasing our numbers of meets and masters. So putting what our goals are, of course, the meets category on the STAR was 51%. Right now, we're showing half of that, almost half of that, 25%. So we can identify the students, and that's what I'm gonna kind of share the summary of what we took from this assessment with our data points with our teachers. So with third grade, we shifted to departmentalized model for stronger content instruction. Last year, they were self-contained. So they taught everything last year. So this year, they're focusing where we have reading, and then we have math, reading, writing, math, science, and then the social studies. So this year, the third grade team transitioned from a self-contained model to departmentalized structure, allowing teachers to focus deeply on their specific content areas and refine their instructional practices. Following the fall benchmark, the team collaboratively scored ECRs, which are the extended constructed responses, and developed a cohesive plan to embed more frequent and aligned ECR practice, ensuring vertical alignment with fourth grade expectation and also STAR. So third grade has always practiced short constructed responses. So you have to be able to do that to understand the concept before you can go to the extended constructed response. So a lot of the practice I had done before was the SCRs to make sure they understood the flow and the system of it. So their plan now is to embed more of the ECRs now that we have this and grow them from that. And that's with even student conferences as well that they're having with them on their writing. So the teachers have thoroughly disaggregated their benchmark data to identify the high priority standards and need of reinforcement. So these standards have been intentionally integrated into Shine Time, and students have been strategically grouped based on identified needs. So this data provides a clear instructional starting point, enabling the team to systematically track student performance, monitor their progress, and then adjust instruction to address areas requiring additional support. So that is what, as far as what the third grade, even with fourth grade, moving down with them, you see right there the key components, the strong benchmark scores despite untaught standards. So there are some standards that had not been taught yet. So I asked them like, just throw everything on the board. Like I told y'all when I presented the last time, we like to get dirty, right? So I'll say, throw everything on the board. What have you already taught? What have you not taught? Because it's a visual piece so they know what we need to do. Okay, what does the data show? And so we took that to map out, okay, what's the instruction gonna look like moving from here on out? So we've got a lot of work to do, but it's a great starting point. And just to kind of reiterate what we did there is using this information, they created targeted student groups and identified the specific TEKs that would be addressed during Shine Time and also to accelerate their learning. We did a teacher by teacher comparison. And so of the data that helped pinpoint areas where additional instructional support was needed. In response to that, the team will meet throughout their planning for the upcoming lessons to discuss those and how these priority standards will be taught with greater clarity and consistency. So the teachers have also been provided opportunities for peer observations. So they've been observing each other, taking ideas. We've been doing learning rounds and allowing them to model effective strategies, share best practices, and strengthen alignment across the grade level. So if you look over here, the campus response and instructional priorities, what we're going to do next, we're still going to be unpacking the high priority standards together. And that's our next step. Actually, when we come back from break, we're going to take the other ones, we're going to unpack it together just to make sure we truly understand what we need to do and then compare it with the question, like Mrs. Long was saying, how is it asking it on STAR? And how are we teaching it? And how are we allowing the students to practice it? Are we hitting the vocabulary like we should? How often are we hitting the vocabulary? So a lot of questions, and I don't want to go deep into it because we did those conversations today with fourth grade. And I was just going to town because we're like, okay, what are you gonna do about this? It's a lot of probing, a lot of asking questions, but it makes everybody think. And I kid you not, as we did our POCs this week, the teachers were teaching each other. And they just kind of took over. So my job is to facilitate. Their job was they were just started teaching each other, say we need to do this. So we've got a plan, we just got to put it into action, and that's what we're going to do next. So continue doing. So once we unpack the standards, then that will affect the content delivery. That is your tier 1 instruction. How is this being delivered? And what do you need help with? You know, Shine Time is our groups that we do enrichment and any type of intervention. So now with this data, we have the specific skills and the specific TEKs that we need to address and practice on. And then the data tracking, the progress monitoring. What are the next steps? What are we doing with this information? And how often are you progress monitoring? And what are you doing with that data? And then the student staff artifacts. So that's what we did this week. We got the student artifacts. I kind of had like a little criteria for them to look at. And this is the part that I told you, they ended up teaching each other. So it just naturally happened. We were diving into the work and we asked the questions, is this aligned with what the state is asking? Is it aligned appropriate to the standard? And they're looking at me. I was like, well, how do you know? How do you determine if it's aligned? So that's when they went back, well, we have to see if it's asked like that way in STAR. And so on the artifact that they brought, they're like, it's not aligned. And I said, so how do you know? So we talked about that. And so they said, what do you think we need to do? And from it, they delivered like the steps that they were expecting. Oh, the work I said, put it in categories of how many questions did you have on there? They said 2. I said, did they answer that correctly? If they got 2 correct, put it here. 1 correct, put it here. None correct, put it here. And one teacher was hesitant. I said, why are you hesitant? She said, they got it correct, but they didn't include all the steps that were required. I said, oh. I said, but did they know that? And so then we broke down to what are the steps we're going to do with the students. So great discussions that we're having. And actually the picture down there, Mr. Sobodia took over and was like, no, these are the steps that we want to see when they're doing their math problem, their exit ticket, any type of artifact we bring. And that particular TEK, this is what we want to see. So they wrote it down, and this is something they're going to turn around and do with their students as well. And then there's a picture up there with the learning rounds, teachers going into the other grade levels, taking notes. And I told them, this is not a gotcha moment. This is a learning moment for us to take some ideas. You know, what do you want to incorporate in your classroom? What's one takeaway that you got from this? And then small group instruction that's been going on. So any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next slide just says ditto, and then we move.
I want to see my scores here. You have me really nervous.
Okay. Our data is very similar to what Miss Wallace had shared with you. A November benchmark is kind of a, I don't know, love, hate. We know we need some type of data point, you know, a line in the sand to refer back to, but man, it's early. So we don't anticipate that our students are where they need to be. If our students are where they need to be in November, then we are not getting paid enough. Just throwing that one out there. So we are getting paid for 180 days. We're going to use all of them. In third grade, you know, as was discussed, we did a full STAR test, and those students have never seen a full STAR test. In fact, if you think about what was shared, we have students entering third grade in August that are 7, and they turn 8 right before September 1st. So they're little. So we anticipate that they're not going to knock it out of the park. However, our third grade teachers, if you look at what their approaches was last year for STAR, they know how to get them there, and I have full confidence that they will continue to do that. We retained our 2 ELAR third grade teachers and our 2 fourth grade ELAR teachers, and then we added 2 phenomenal ELAR teachers to the crew. So I have confidence that they can repeat what they did last year. If you look at fourth grade, they're already doing better on their benchmark this year than last year. And you know, a lot of that is because our third grade sent them in with a really solid foundation. A lot of our teachers have commented that they already know how to do ECRs. They already know the strategy. They already have a good, you know, jumping off point. So, and then also our teachers, our fourth grade teachers have a lot of experience. And so that's evident in their scores. Our teachers met on Monday, which seems like a lifetime ago. It's been a long week. They met on Monday. They looked at data. They used the PLC data artifact that I had shared with you. And then a lot of that time after grading was to look at the upcoming units because we have a lot of tier 1 instruction left to teach. So we made sure that in our upcoming units, and reading's weird, it's cyclical. You kind of teach everything all at once. So we went and looked ahead at those units and made sure that those TEKs that we're lacking on, that they are fully covered and incorporated in those following units, and also taking into consideration the genre of what was tested, what have we taught, what might we see, what might we not see. So a lot of that time was spent doing that. So our instructional priorities, well-developed and rigorous tier 1 instruction. We do have a reading tutor that is working with our tier 2 and 3 students. I shared with you our Galaxy group process and Galaxy group time for all students. I know fourth grade has used that time to pull a lot of their higher level students to work on their ECRs, try to get them full credit on their ECRs, improve their ECRs. So we're not just targeting students at the tier 2 and tier 3 level. We're trying to hit everyone and give them that feedback in those writing conferences. And then, like I said, student teacher conferences over their ECR and SCR. I was in teacher's classroom one day and she was working one-on-one with a student, and it was really incredible the way she was able to build him up and bring him up and help him improve. And it does take a lot to work one-on-one with a student, but it's invaluable. And as a parent of a child who needs a lot of one-on-one help, it was just very heartwarming to see teachers do that and dedicate their time. I've got a couple pictures. This is during our Galaxy group time. Miss Sell is our music teacher on the bottom right, and that is an advanced group, and they are doing a novel study, and it was a huge hit. They even ran down the stairs to go to Galaxy group time and said, can we just start reading right away, because it was their last day in Galaxy groups, and they wanted to find out what happened. So, and you can see that my computer teacher up there has another group and they're doing a different novel study, and you can see that there's a writing component to that. So I've been really proud of our whole staff. It definitely, we always say it's a group effort, but this year it truly is. We are all hands on deck and working to help students grow and improve. Okay, so for the intermediate, you'll find in that third column, that's our progress on the released assessment, STAR assessment. So 51, 22, and 8 for fifth grade, 54, 29, and 9. We also posted there as our performance on 2025 STAR and then our performance on the benchmark. So we definitely look forward to more gains as we move along. As has already been shared, it is a full assessment, so it includes things that have been taught and things that also have not been taught. So on Wednesday and Thursday of this week, our fifth and sixth grade teachers took a half day each to look at that data and separate out the things that have been taught, so they could really evaluate student performance on those particular standard. We took note of what their performance was on things that have not yet been taught, but really the focus was what did we not do well on the things that we've already covered thus far in the school year. So we also look to see how those things have been, how we fared across the last 3 school years, and identified kind of trends there. So teachers were very specific on identifying the skills, and then they moved to identifying and creating groups of students that they were going to follow up with in each period. So their next steps are going to be talking through resources and how do we teach differently what was not yet mastered. So we are doing that through small group intervention, and we're also doing that through our WIN groups. We had a shift in how we achieve our WIN or accomplish WIN time, and that's just an additional time outside of the 88 minutes that our teachers have in reading and our teachers have in math. So RLA teachers picked for a new cycle that begins in December. When we come back from the break, they'll have 15 days with a specific WIN group outside again of their main 88 minutes. And so they use this data to support building those groups as well. And then there was just at the bottom an example. So fifth grade teachers, this is just one standard of several standards. So there was a cluster in which we performed at 47% in fifth grade. There was a cluster in which we performed at 42% in sixth grade. So those fell below the 65% mark that we like to see kind of mastered standards at. And so they'll be creating a group and finding a resource to teach those things just a little bit differently. So again, we have small group instruction going on. We have our intervention or our WIN time in full swing. Math teachers are teaching math, reading teachers are teaching reading in those groups. And then we have the way that we address the unit, which is pause. We preview the unit, we build the assessment, we work the assessment, and then we begin with structured lessons. And so really our focus when we come back from the break will shift to teachers having that same process with daily lessons. So we really take a good look at the unit prior to beginning the unit. So now we want our students or our teachers to understand, okay, I want to attack the way that I attack a unit, I want to attack a daily lesson. So we really want to work through some of the work that our elementary peers have already established in really identifying, does a teacher truly understand what the standard is that they're going to be teaching, and do they have evidence? And that evidence is going to be drawn from the student learning. Progress monitoring will continue. We'll identify students reach new levels and new successes. And then, of course, we went over our targeted improvement plan. That's going to be our focus for the remainder of the year, is accomplishing all of those milestones. So I would also like to thank you for your expression of support. So thank you.
Deborah,
Yes,
when
sir.
you mentioned the small group, in the small groups, what is the WIN group? Or you mentioned that
Yes.
several times.
So we have WIN stands for what I need. And
Okay.
so WIN is a 44-minute period. And so if everyone goes to either at 11:08, everyone either goes to lunch or goes to WIN. So fifth grade, they go to to win groups and sixth grade goes to lunch. And then about 44 minutes later, we swap. So then we have sixth grade going to win groups and fifth grade is at lunch. So in those groups, we actually have teachers, it's kind of like draft day every 3 weeks. So teachers are picking students. This go round, it was it was reading, picking win group. So 20 to 25 students, and it fell right. We planned it to fall right after benchmark, so that way they could really be targeted in who they pick. And then the next group, the document became live for the next group of teachers. That was math, and so then math picked 20 to 25 students. And then the document went live for science. Science then picked 20 to 25 students, and then social studies had that fourth pick. So every 3 weeks, which comes out to about every 15 days, we swap. So then in the next cycle, a different content area will have first pick. And so that way we're constantly moving and evaluating who for this next 15 days, who can we make an impact with? And so teachers are very targeted and already thinking, okay, this is who I want to pick for this particular group. And again, it is outside of their normal 88 minutes of instruction in reading, and it's outside of their normal 88 minutes of instruction in math.
Thank you.
Those
Yes,
two
you're welcome.
things, the 88 minutes of instruction is new because last year it was half that amount of time.
Yes.
So that's also new.
Yes.
Good evening, board. First, want to apologize. I didn't get the memo for the Blazers and blue jeans night by everybody else.
I was wondering.
Sorry. But anyways, looking at our 7th and 8th grade data, benchmark data on the right, obviously, compared to last year's benchmark is a little down, but we're trending in the right direction. I like to look at the benchmark compared to what the kids did last year, because obviously comparing this benchmark to last year's benchmark, it's a different set of kids. So if you'll look at, our 7th grade STAR scores, at 2025 STAR scores compared to the 8th grade 25 benchmark, our approaches is already up. The focus now needs to be obviously on our droppers that we lost from meets, and we're close on our masters to where they were, and we're only in November, like Sarah Williams said. Sorry, let me make sure it's the right one. So, like I said, approaches achievement remains consistent with last year's benchmark. There was a slight decrease in meets and masters. But like I was saying, this cohort has already exceeded their 6th grade STAR performance, showing minimal growth, but growth is growth, because that's what we're really pushing is growth, obviously. 8th grade approaches meets and masters is down a few points as well. However, their performance is very close to what they did last year on the STAR, and we're tracking to where we need to be. Both grades show performance trends that are comparable to prior year outcomes. And the data that we'll go through, which you'll see here in a second, will target the interventions that move the spring semester. So our data dig, as you can imagine, the week before Thanksgiving break at a junior high is pretty wild. So our data dig is actually tomorrow, where we'll dig deeper into all the standards and all that good stuff to see where we're at. 7th grades in the morning, 8th grades in the afternoon. We want to identify priority standards that have been taught, like it's already been said before. Not everything has been taught up to this point. We really want to focus in on the ones that have been taught to see what we need to do to get those kids where they need to be. We really want to identify our droppers because, like I stated earlier, our approaches seem to be where they were last year, but it does seem to show that we've lost some in our meets category. And we'll really focus on that. Creating groups based off of the low standards, and we're going to teach it to the whole group and not just several, like just our meets and masters kids, because there are going to be some approaches or did not meets that are going to need that same standard as well. A big question that we'll be asking is how do we know they're going to get it? And that's something we ask all the time. Teachers say, well, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Well, how do you know they got it? And that's a big question we'll be asking tomorrow. How are we going to assess that they got it? And we don't want to wait till the next benchmark to see, oh, no, they didn't get it. We need to know. We're wanting to know now. And then like Deborah was saying with their win time, we have implemented a new intervention plan for the last 3 weeks. We just, last 2 years and the beginning of this year, it was just kind of an IXL time. that wasn't used that great. So with the help of Ms. Long and Mr. Fitzgerald, we came up with a new plan that Mondays and Tuesdays is math. So our math teams send me a standard that they really want to work on with a video, a 5 to 7 minute video, and then 2 days worth of work that we push out in a Google Classroom that all teachers, they show it whole class. So even if you're a social studies teacher, you're showing a math lesson and they have a key to the questions and they're in there helping everybody out to try to get where we need to be in math. And then the reading stuff, or the reading intervention, is Wednesdays, Thursdays, same kind of format. And then on Friday in reading, there's a checkpoint, whether it's a do now or an exit ticket, where they'll get a grade based off of the intervention work that they did. So it's shown very good in math. We just started the reading portion of that last week, and it's been very good up to this point. So we're looking to tomorrow to continue to plan that out and fill any gaps that we may have.
Good job, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mic drop.
Like that. Yeah. Mm.
I don't do clickers very well. You do the clicking for me. My thumbs are too big. This is saying Ash.
The other.
Same
Okay, these are the results for ASH this year. Please remember that ASH is a standalone campus now, AEA. In the past years, we've been combined with PHS. So this is the first year that we will be scored by ourselves. So even the A through F standard is different for AEA campus when he starts scoring. So that's a whole nother topic that I'll let Amy and Daniel explain that part. But when you look at it, of course, in that first column, it's combined in the red with STAR last year. And then we also have our 2024 fall benchmark, approach 27, meets 9%, master 0%. This year we have 30%, 10%, 0%. But I believe that when you start looking at the data, we have to look past the percentage, all right, to truly understand what's going on. So when we look at this, when we analyze the individual data, the results are highly encouraging. And you can say, how is that? Of the 13 benchmarks, 13 individuals supposed to take it, 10 were successfully scored. The remaining 3 benchmarks could not be scored due to consistent absences. Now remember, who are we working with? With that, so that at times is a challenge. Of the 10 students who completed testing, 4 were enrolled in a traditional school setting last year, while the remaining 6 were previously in a volunteer or court order homeschool programs with that. And then some, so they're just now getting back into the routine. With this, one student answered, whose scores came in, were 11 questions short of achieving mastery. And this was a homeschool person last year. 2 students were 3 questions away from meeting grade level expectations. 1 student who was 1 question away, 1 student was 2 questions away, 1 was 3 questions away, and 1 was 5 questions away from reaching approach. So again, it's encouraging, but we have to look past the percentage. I'm just giving you a little history of it. And so these results demonstrate that when students are both physically and mentally present, they can achieve meaningful academic success. So a lot of times, our main thing is monitoring the attendance. That's the biggie. If we believe that if they're in school, they can learn. All right, if they're not in school, they cannot learn. And so I know our attendance is 89% right now, but we would love to get it to a 90%, and we're trying everything possible to do that. I know one thing that we are implementing for sure is that district attendance BIP that has been implemented. tennis court, everything else, giving them candy bars. I mean, we're doing a lot of things just to get them to school, because if they're at school, they can learn. And sometimes they can learn even if they're not participating because they're hearing with that. So it's getting them and keeping them in the classroom with it. Performance level tracking, knowing our students, knowing where they at, knowing their history, where they come from. Again, this year, we're even in December, some are going to take the English 1 and the English 2 EOC for the first time because they have not been in school. So when it comes to a foundation, we're trying to create a foundation with them. They can't even reach back because they don't have the prior knowledge with that. So, and then engagement, because when you come from, if you want to say a discipline setting, you're on a computer all day long with that. So now you're in the classroom, so they have to learn how to interact, how to ask questions. Do I ask questions? I mean, with that. And so it's a lot of learning on that part. And our teacher is doing great with that. And another thing is, as we look at this, our response, we're going to look at the grammar. I mean, with this, we're going to look at the writing. We noticed, or she noticed, that 8 to 10 points were left. They lost that because of their writing with the ECR. I mean, they just didn't score well on that. So if we get that, then majority of the students would have had met, or we would have had one that mastered with that. And so, again, it's very encouraging. We're going to hit the fables. Now, because they do not have the foundation, we cannot start right up here. We have to start lower and build up to that point. Because if we just hit them like this, a lot of them will give up. So we have to start at a part where they can have some success and then start building them up till they get to that standard that we want them to be. Do now exit tickets. We're being creative with that. The thing is, with the fables, it's based upon 5 questions. They have to answer 5 questions, and that 5 questions is going to help them write the essay. Because many students do not want to write. They do not want to read long passages with that. So she's starting there and then going to build it up. If we say what teaks, I think everybody, when it comes to English, they would probably say 4F, inferencing. With that, that's just a common deal. But we're also going to focus in on 9C and 9D, which is revising and editing. And this is what we found out. Students can write sentences, but they can't explain how to write a good sentence. And so when it comes to revising and editing, if you're going to revise and edit, you must be able to explain why. So we're going to focus in on that. And then with that, if we approach that, again, this is our plan to help build success at ASH. And our theme is, can we build it? Yes, we can, but we have to be very creative when reaching these students because, again, you're talking about a lot of them who haven't been in a school setting. And so we think that we are reaching them, and we think that we're going to get them there. I think we're going to see a lot of success this year. Plus our English, remember, our English teacher is our English department. And we do not teach English 1. So the way we have it tiered. We have face-to-face instruction, and then we have edgenuity. Now, what I didn't say is we still have students who are currently in the discipline setting who started off the year in the discipline setting and may not get out of the discipline setting until probably February or March. So we're using edgenuity to get them, and this is a new, we have Apex, but edgenuity is a little bit more detailed where we have the video, where they can't skip through, where we can monitor, where they can't use AI, where we use GoGuardian and place them in there. And so they don't like that, but it's working overall with that. And so do you have any questions?
I will say to Mr. Wallace's credit, the new program, kids aren't taking a nap and putting their head down and sleeping because you can't get through it. You can't zip through it. You have to watch the videos. You have to answer the questions, and you can't just take a nap. And so that was something that he wanted to put in place to solve that problem. And it's showing good results. So it was a great idea from Mr. Wallace.
I also believe that, 89% attendance in that setting is pretty good if you knew the logistics of that buildup. So I know 90 is, man, that's achievable, and we think it is, but you're doing a good job at 89, and it shows. It really does.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Susie and I will go over this. I'm going to go over my information. We work as a team. Our teachers work as a team, but their planning is a little bit different on a day-to-day basis on the PCHS campus. So we'll begin. I think our teachers look at this as this is a scrimmage, and it's a good scrimmage, and we've gotten some good data out of it. But it's not the real game. And so we're happy with it, but we're not throwing a party just yet. Hopefully we can in the spring. Compared to last year, we took this at the same time last year. And this was the 24 release test that English 1 and 2 took. So with approaches, we were up 7 percentage points this year from last. 3 is significant, but we were up 7. In meets, we were up 8 percentage points. And in masters, we were up 6 percentage points on English 1. So it was a great job by the teachers, by teaching and learning team, and our students gave great effort. And with English 2, we were up 3 percentage points from last year. In meets, we were up 6 percentage points last year, and our one drop was in masters. We went from 3 to 1. So we lost some ground in masters in English 2. So teachers are working on that, and we're trying to get that taken care of. I just kind of went over all this stuff. We will support the team in strengthening high-level reading and writing tasks to address the drop in master's. Priorities include targeted skill work for students near the master's level and ongoing data use to guide all instruction and intervention. We currently analyze data after each assessment and target specific students for every class period and what standards they need intervention on. If you'd go to the next one. I would like to share this with you. If we can stand up here and we can talk about all this, if you really want to see the detail and what goes into planning, drop by the high school anytime. And I'll walk you up there. You can come by unannounced. And I'll walk you to Mr. Cap's office, because typically that's where this takes place. It's either there or the PLC. And the teams are working hard on data, and the detail that they put into it and the conversations that they have is the reason that they're successful. Another thing that's going on, we've got professional development with Dr. Rose. And although she has only been with us probably 4 days this year total, she's a part of the team. And the team would be the first to tell you that. And the other thing that's been different this year, Caps is a part of the team. He's not an administrator, he is, but the team doesn't look at him that way. He is legitimately a part of the team. And the time he spends with them and the systems he has in place and the goals that they see are important. So we're proud of our kids. When they took the benchmark, I'm asking the teachers when they're bringing their stuff down, did they work hard? And that's the answer, because the kids know that this is not the real deal, but the kids were working hard. And we'd had that information about this group of freshmen coming in, that they're really hard workers, and we're proud of that. And I'll let Susie go over her information.
So at PCHS, we're basically doing the same thing as high school. We share PLCs to align with the curriculum. We have targeted intervention for our high focus groups. and we've identified our hoppers and our droppers. So my main question to our teacher today is, who are the hoppers and who are the droppers, and why are they dropping? So he's really had to dig deep into the data, find the students that dropped, compare their percentages from last year to this year, and create a plan to increase those scores. The two TEKs that we're going to focus on our campus is E1.7, E.II, counter arguments. We scored a 33% in that area, which in our mind just isn't acceptable. So we're going to target that area very specifically and increase that. The next one is E1.8B, that's author's purpose. English 2, a lot of the same things, working with the high school, targeted intervention for our high focus groups. The TEKs that we'll be focusing for English 2 is E2.8. Again, author's purpose, where we scored 49%. E2.4F, inferencing, that's been mentioned before, and that's at 54%. Our campus has set a goal to increase our master's level, and as you can tell, the results that came in just isn't what we were working towards. So we're going to be very intentional to work with our students that are at meets and increasing them to masters, and those that are at approaches, increasing them to meets. Because as you know, student growth is what the accountability rating is going to reflect. So we are putting a strong focus in that area. Again, we're going to do the continued constructed response practice in all English classes, homeroom intervention groups with the 3-week rotation, continuous PD with Dr. Rose as well, and targeted tutoring for underperforming TEKs. We also have our study hall, which any student who is scoring below a 75 has to come in and get intervention. So the expectation is that they at least get 30 minutes of targeted tutoring with a certified teacher per week.
Dr. Sanchez, I'd like to say thank you to Amy Carrasco. We gave this benchmark not very long ago. We have the test in Cambium's testing system. She's got to download in the Eduphoria, then turns around and got data sorted for us very quickly and made the slides that you saw the data on tonight. So that's a big help. So
No. And definitely appreciate all the principals and all the work. I mean, I know you guys worked hard to get all this together, and so I think there is an executive session, but everybody else go home.
Enjoy your Thanksgiving break.
Holiday, Thanksgiving.
And
No school.
I don't know, we're still waiting for an outbreak, and it might happen, it might still happen. Hey, but do tell everybody that they get the $500. I know that was a question going around campuses this week. People were asking, and so please share that, so.
Should we vote for no school Saturday?
yeah,
So,
that one not pass.
I just need to read this.
Don't do that. I don't want to make it up. All right.
Okay, let's see. Trustees will meet a closed session as permitted by Texas Government Code, Section 551.001.
Oh, I don't think your mic's on.
It's not on. It hasn't been on. Yeah, it's on.
Oh, it is?
Mhm.
It's just, we don't hear the echo because they got fancy on us.
A deliberation on employment compensation, evaluation, assignment, duties, discipline, or dismiss of employment pursuant to Texas Government Code. I think that's the one we're gonna do, code 551.074.
You gotta turn that around.
Yeah, she has a light on this side, so.
Oh, okay.
And that's
And it's 18.
among all the others.